You have Ruth's flip books over there. You want to say a couple words about it?
Sure.
Feel free to stand up if you want. You don't have to. You're tall.
I'm just really pleased to be here. Cathy has been a really kind of pivotal person in my life in terms of helping me think about where I went with my work. But really, she was also one of the first real jobs I had out of college that wasn't related to serving tables. And I learned a whole lot from her. I was her first employee at the Real Comet Press. I learned how to I learned how to keep books, and I learned how to. I learned all this stuff about publishing, and I got to go to the different book conventions, these really fun Northwest book conferences, and to New Orleans and things like that. And it was a really great, wonderful, small place to work until you got bigger, and went down to the Alpha building on First and Denny. But Cathy's business, the Real Comet Press, was in her house. So I went to work in that house. I can't remember how often. Just around the corner from where I lived, and I was there when her first babies were born. Her two sons were born, and it was just a really great place. So I just want to say, I think Cathy's generosity and her kind of adventurous thinking around publishing really made an impact in the Northwest. I don't know how you measure that sort of thing, but when I think about going to the Northwest Booksellers Association conventions and us showing the Real Comet Press work compared to all of the other stuff, I think, wow, Cathy was really making a big, really adventurous steps into publishing that I don't think we see very often anymore. So, thank you, Cathy.
Yes.
Now I want to introduce another very influential cartoonist and sort of a giant in the field here in the Northwest. We don't see enough of him anymore. Michael Dougan.
I'm also glad to be here. I was reminded of the first time I met Cathy, the first time we had a meeting, really, and anyone who's been to Cathy's house, it was a really special place, this beautiful house on Capitol Hill, and I had my little pages of comics that I wanted her to consider for publication, and I think she served tea and cookies or something on the back porch, and was breastfeeding her infant son, which I didn't remember until tonight, but the nurturing quality of Cathy sort of makes sense in context with that. And meeting Linda and Ruth and all those guys, it's very informal and friendly group of people. I think one time Linda introduced me to a couple of people in the Rocket Circle. One of them was Mark Michelson, who she just said, hey, there's a new cartoonist I want you to meet. And Michelson looked at me and said, oh, you want to hear a joke? And he said, did you ever hear the one about the Polish cartoonist? He was in it for the money? But working with Cathy at that time was really wonderful, and the book maybe sold a few thousand or whatever, but it opened a lot of doors for me, and I had a lot of fun.
So are you still, what are you doing now, Michael?
No.
That's what I want to know. How art are you making?
Still doing
You're
drawing.
drawing? And are you selling illustrations?
I really don't.
For a while, animation really. And Art Chantry, I remember when I was delivering artwork to Art, I remember one particular time slipping 13 ink pages under his door late at night, and that he got the next day. And that's often how we did things then, just delivering things under the door in the middle of the night. So I'll let Art is here. I think he's going to have a few things to say.
A guy who needs no introduction, Art Chantry.
Michael was talking about the first time he met Cathy. I can't remember that anymore because it was 30 years ago, half of my life ago is when I first met her. But I do remember getting her into my studio one day to look at a pile of punk rock posters I've been pulling off the telephone poles for years. And I remember getting her in there and showing her these things. You go, look at these things, aren't they cool? Wouldn't they make a great book? I've been practicing my big book pitch. It's like, wouldn't they make a great book? And she goes, yeah, let's do it. And it was one of those things where it was so fast and so instant that it was like nobody had ever said yes to me that quickly. And so I just kept going. I kept doing my pitch. And after a while, she started giving me that classic patented Cathy smile, where she kind of sits back and just looks at you like, and I could see her thinking, "What are you doing? I already said yes." That's the way she was. If she saw something that was worth doing, she did it. Over the years, I've learned that there's a couple types of genius in the world. And one is genius of thought. That's like people with great, brilliant ideas. They can actually think of great things to do. But there's this other kind of genius called genius of action. Larry's one of those guys. These are people that seem to have this incredible instinct to know exactly what to do and then to actually friggin' pull it off, And it isn't very often that you actually run into somebody that's got both. And Cathy seems to be one of those people. And it's been, no, really, you've got kind of the whole package. You've pulled it off so many times. Look at what you've done for this city. Look at all the talent you nurtured. Look at all the scenes you kind of built. I mean, it was like an incredible clearinghouse for people that didn't have a chance anywhere else. So, anyway, years ago when my book that she published called Instant Litter, which was that collection of punk rock posters, came out, she had a book opening, a book release party held at Free Mars. Now, right off the bat, that eliminates this crowd, about 50-50, don't even know what I'm talking about. Free Mars, and everybody who was involved with the book was invited, so it was like this opening party where basically it was the last get-together of the entire early Seattle punk rock, the primal punk rock scene. And all these crazy people who really were just these total misfit weirdos who found punk as the only place they could actually do what they wanted to do or be creative in any way. And they were all in this one cramped little room, and it was just packed. And she gave everybody 3 copies of the book, and everybody was walking around, and everybody wanted me to sign it because it was, my name was on the thing. But what I did is I had a copy of the book too, and I went around and I tried to get as many of those artists and those people to actually sign my copy of that book. And, a lot of those people are gone now.
You better put that in a vault.
No, I'm giving it to you. No. Everybody's not in there, but there's a lot of them in there. In fact, it's just a fun thing to read through. I signed it over in the front, dated it, so you know what you
Holy
got.
moly.
So there you go.
I
And
can't
thank
even
you.
break. What's this like duct tape?
That's very, very colorful duct tape. You can't get enough duct tape. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, we're all here to sort of honor Cathy. Do you have anything to say to the teaming
Do I
words
have
here?
anything to say?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
You
Larry,
have something to say.
the real Comet Press was a wonderful thing. It was always also a very painful thing. And it was very expensive. And when it ended, it's still actually, I never sold it, so I never closed it. But the end of it was really difficult for me. And so I really appreciate you doing this. And it's been so much fun, spending this time with you and putting this together. I'm like over here. I didn't have to make any of this happen, really, which is also kind of an amazing.
It all happen.
No, but it's like I didn't have to do the perfect job of sending out the invitation to everybody I ever knew or anything. I just kind of took it kind of as it came, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate this and how sweet it is and how nice it is to see all these people here. And thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's hear it for Cathy. Hey, I hope you all got a chance to see Kiki. We had our very own poodle with the mohawk here. I do want to mention we have new old stock of, Michael Dougan's rare, long out of print. East Texas is here. Much of it's still wrapped. And feel free to, Cathy says the end of it was painful. Well, let's make it less painful and buy her books. We do have a few. Everything we have is here. first printings of The Good Times Are Killing, signed by Linda Berry. So anyway, thanks again for coming. And we do want to also mention thanks to Elysian for giving us the Charles Burns themed beer. I should mention too, while we're at it, we're going to have later in the year we're going to welcome Terry Banner and his wife Helene Silverman, who co-designed some of these books, will be here. And Charles Burns should be here on September 21st. So we'll see y'all regularly now that you know where we're at. And thanks again. Have a great Russ, spinning records. Go ahead.